is up, armchair fandomaniacs? This is the Real Last Jedi back with another armchair fandom video. If you like our channel, please subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, please share this video and leave a comment in the comment section below. So to get started, I want to quickly talk a little bit about Godzilla vs. Kong. This is part of the Warner Brothers Monsterverse. It began some years back in 2014 with the release of Godzilla, and then shortly after a couple years, the release of Kong Skull Island came out. Then they followed that up with Godzilla King of the Monsters, and 2 or 3 weeks ago they released Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla vs. Kong has a 92% Rotten Tomatoes score among audiences, a 6.5 out of 10 audience score on IMDb, the International Movie Database, and a 7.1 out of 10 audience score on Metacritic. Now, like I said in my first live stream recently, Godzilla vs. Kong is not the type of movie that you go watch because you want to see Oscar-winning performances, Oscar-winning storytelling, or just fantastic movie making. It's a movie you go see or you watch at home simply because of the fantastic scenario that you're witnessing, being that of a giant lizard and a giant gorilla punching each other, destroying buildings, and just being a overall terror to civilization in general. After initially watching Godzilla vs. Kong, I did come to realize that I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I did, simply based on the fact that I haven't gone back and watched it a second time. But a lot of that is due to just time constraints, trying to fit everything into a daily schedule, and I just haven't found the time to go back and watch it with other things that I enjoy doing from day to day. I haven't been willing to sacrifice any of the other things or any of my other responsibilities to go back and watch it again. But if you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go watch it at least once, because it is a very fun movie to watch. This movie was everything that I thought it would be. With the pandemic going on, it's not feasible to really get together with a lot of people and go to the theater. I had considered driving 3 hours to take my nephews with me to go watch it in their hometown, which at the end of the day I figured was not really doable. So that day I went out to Walmart and bought a Vizio soundbar system and brought it home, and had my living room fixed up like you was walking into a theater. And I invited my mom and dad to my house to watch Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm not sure anybody in the room enjoyed it as much as me. My wife actually fell asleep halfway through it. I guess living with me is a very interesting life indeed, because I don't see how you witness that type of mayhem and fall asleep in it. But like I said, this was everything I wanted it to be. I sat most of the movie with a grin on my face, just enjoying the spectacle of Godzilla and King Kong going at it. And like I said, there will be no spoilers in this review, but it was a whole lot of fun. There was one creature that came out at the end that they had to team up against, but the whole movie was a whole lot of fun watching these two giants, these two titans, just pummel each other and compete for who was the top dog on the block. But I would give Godzilla vs. Kong a solid 4 out of 5 armchairs. That brings me to the next topic I want to cover in this video, which is my top 10 favorite comedies of all time. I will be doing a series of these covering my top 10 of different types of movies and other topics in the future. But comedy is something that is different for everybody. Everybody has a different sense of comedy. Some people may like just dumb comedy, like slapstick stuff. Others may enjoy situational comedy. Others may enjoy awkward comedy. Others may enjoy just really intelligent, thought out comedy. But my personal preference is I love situational comedy that has people in awkward situations where they're taking themselves seriously, but you realize the ridiculousness of the situations that they're in. So starting off on my top 10 favorite comedies of all time, I would have to go at number 10 with Major League, the movie about the Cleveland Indians baseball team. This is partly due to the fact that I probably only ever watched this movie because it involves my favorite baseball team, the Cleveland Indians. But it also, I thought, was really funny because of the, like I said, the situational, awkward situation the players are in. When you talk about Ed Harris, the pitcher, Serrano, just the different characters in that movie and how ridiculous their characters were. My number 9 favorite comedy of all time, it would be Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase reprising his role as Clark Griswold. And instead of going on vacation somewhere else in this one, they invite the family to come to their house to enjoy vacation. Chevy Chase always portrayed the character of Clark Griswold, the super dad that never got anything right, but he portrayed the fact he wanted to have these special moments with his family, but they just never turned out the way he imagined in his head, and his family realized and knew that he just made a mess of everything, but they still loved him. My number 8 favorite comedy of all time is Spaceballs, the parody spoof of the Star Wars franchise. In my opinion, there's this kind of goes away from my preferred situation awkward comedy that I like and leans more toward the ridiculous and slapstick type of stuff, but there's nothing really any funnier that I can think of than Rick Moranis' Dark Helmet suffering the consequences of light speed. And like I say, this channel's based on the idea that not everybody can engage in movies as much as they would like because of their life getting in the way, their responsibilities. So this is not based on my knowledge of all comedies that's ever been made. This is based on my exposure to comedic movies and what I would consider my personal top 10. Your top 10 may be different, and there may be movies you've seen that I've never seen. But continuing on, my 7th favorite comedy of all time would be Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. This goes back to the situational, awkward comedy that I prefer, because you have this character played by Bill Murray who is forced to relive the same day over and over and over until he gets it right. And one of my favorite parts in the movie is after he's lived this day, as far as we know, he could have lived it 1,000,000 times by the time we get to the scene I'm talking about. But when he walks in the restaurant and the waitress walks over to his table and he just starts ordering everything on the menu, he orders, it's breakfast, he orders cake, donuts, just anything that they have, he just starts ordering it because, I mean, why not? If you're going to wake up in the morning and get to do the day all over, why would you just not eat everything that they have in ridiculous combinations? My 6th favorite comedy of all time would be a movie with Jason Bateman called Extract, made by the same people that did Office Space, which we'll get to later. But Extract is about a owner of a extract flavoring company, and Jason Bateman is one of the better actors at pulling off the situational, awkward comedy than anybody I can think of. He's very good at playing that role. He was in Arrested Development, sort of the same type of character, but just some of the people he has to deal with and the ridiculousness of him dealing with these other characters in Extract was one of my favorite comedies. Number 5 on my top 10 list would be the movie Overboard from the 80s with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. You have Kurt Russell, this is also, again, situational awkwardness that I find so funny, that Kurt Russell is trying to get even with a woman that stiffed him on a construction job, and he finds out that she fell off her boat and has amnesia, and he goes and claims her as his wife and forces him to serve him and his sons. And the funniest part, I think, in the movie is when she's about to have a nervous breakdown and he dunks her in a barrel of water to bring her to, and she tells him that her children are the spawn of hell, he's the devil, and his reply to her is, honey, we like you. If you've never seen any of these movies I'm mentioning, I ask you to go watch them. But number 4 on my list is Gentlemen Broncos, another movie we'll get to later on down the list. This movie was created by the same people that did the movie Napoleon Dynamite. Gentlemen Broncos, again, it's a little bit more on the ridiculous side, but it's also situational, awkward comedy. You have it's basically a spoof on science fiction fantasy writers and science fiction fantasy fans, and there's some really ridiculous characters in this movie, but even more ridiculous are the characters that they create as science fiction writers and science fiction fans. I would encourage you to check out Gentlemen Broncos. It's a lesser known movie from the people that made Napoleon Dynamite, which brings me to the next movie on my list, which is Napoleon Dynamite. I can't remember the actor's name right off my head, and I didn't make a list for this list of the names of the actors, but Napoleon Dynamite is kind of another ridiculous movie, but it's the situational awkwardness again that you find these ridiculous characters in that is so funny. Number 2 on my list would be Shallow Hal with Jack Black, about a man who Tony Robbins puts a spell on him to where he's only able to see what people look like inwardly. He no longer sees their outward beauty or their outward what we would find as a lack of beauty. He can only see their character, their inward character. So all of the people we may find not so attractive, he finds attractive, but based on their inner beauty, and anybody we would think that was beautiful on the outside, he sees them as really ugly people on the outside. And I would encourage you to check out Shallow Hal. It's a very, very funny movie. It was one I watched by myself, and I still literally laughed out loud and enjoyed that a lot. And that brings me to my number 1 top 10 comedy of all time, and that would be the movie Office Space. I've worked in an office environment. I've worked the cubicle lifestyle, and this movie struck a funny bone with me. With my top 10 comedies of all time list wrapped up, I will come now to my next topic, my next segment of this video, which is current movie and television news. This will not be an exhaustive list of news pertaining to movies and television. This will be just a summation of a few projects that I've come across that I'm really looking forward to. First and foremost, we're looking at the release of Mortal Kombat in just a week or so on April 23rd, 2021. This is based on the popular 90s video game Mortal Kombat. I have to admit that I actually enjoyed the original Mortal Kombat movie back in the 90s, and I also enjoyed the sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, back in the 90s. But I have to admit, those are very bad movies. But I was a lot younger, and my taste in movies hadn't developed like it has now, and I still enjoyed those movies. But I'm looking forward to this reboot releasing on April the 23rd of this year, April 23rd, 2021. Now, my next news subject on this segment of this video I want to cover is a story I come across just doing a little bit of research. Remember, this is armchair fandom, not professional fandom, so my research is not ever going to be extensive. I'm just reminding you that I'm just sharing articles that I find out about, or news that I find out about that looks intriguing to me. You may not be interested in it, but I came across this story on Cinema Blend. The headline reads, Peter Dinklage's new superhero movie has cast a Dr. Sleep star. If you're familiar with who Peter Dinklage is, he's the actor that played the angry elf in the Will Ferrell movie Elf. He also was the star of Tyrion Lannister in the HBO series Game of Thrones, which was very good. And he's a great actor. I really like watching him portray characters. He's a great character actor, but he's just able to carry drama, comedy. He's just an all-around great actor. But coming across this article, I realized that Peter Dinklage is going to be starring as the Toxic Avenger in the new Toxic Avenger movie. And if you don't know who Toxic Avenger is, it was a very low budget B movie character from the 80s. It used to come on at like 12 midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning when I was a kid, and it was about a superhero who became a superhero just because he had gone from a nerd to superhero because he had fallen in toxic chemicals and it deformed him. I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. I really like Peter Dinklage, and to hear that he's going to be in something like the Toxic Avenger sounds like a very interesting project to me. The final piece of news I'd like to discuss, which is a project I'm looking forward to. I'm not as much excited about this as I normally probably would be, but this is a movie that will be part of the MCU, which means it stands for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel in 2008 came out with the movie Iron Man, based on the Marvel comic book character, about the character Tony Stark, who became the superhero Iron Man, and it culminated a couple years ago in the 21st movie in this series, Avengers Endgame, which I've mentioned before. I believe is probably my favorite movie of all time, at least top 5 favorite movies of all time, simply because it's got a 45-minute to an hour segment or sequence that is my number one favorite sequence of all time in any movie. I'm not going to spoil anything for you from that movie if you haven't seen it, but this movie Black Widow, starring Scarlett Johansson, will be the first movie released, the second movie released after Avengers Endgame, a few months, a year, I'm not remembering the timeline right offhand, but after Avengers Endgame, they released Spider-Man Far From Home, and then everything was put on hold because of COVID, and finally, hopefully they don't push it back again. It's been pushed back 2 or 3 times from last year even. But Black Widow will cover the character Black Widow, who is actually, her real name is Natasha Romanoff, and her movie will be released, her standalone movie will be released July 9th, 2021, which will likely be a backstory to her character. But the main reason I'm interested in this movie is because it plays into the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's currently a show playing right now on Disney Plus called Falcon and Winter Soldier. Disney Plus had another show that ended a few weeks ago called WandaVision, and both of those shows also play into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You may not think that you're interested in comic book movies or superhero movies or things of that nature, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe stands alone as far as franchises go. As far as I'm concerned personally, I don't believe there's ever been anything done movie making wise that culminated in a 11 or 12 year project and 21 movies all tying together and telling one larger story over a 12-year, 21 movie period. And they're just going to keep going. Like I said, after Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home was released. Now we got Black Widow being released. We got these shows coming out on Disney Plus, and all of these stories tie into each other in one way or another. So if you've never checked in on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I would encourage you to go on Google and look up the chronological order for the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies and watch them in the chronological order so that you can more easily follow the storylines and how everything ties together. So, why do we like movies? The reason I like movies, you may be different, but the reason I like movies is because they tell stories. Some stories are different, but I think it appeals to our baser nature as human beings. When we have children, we put them to sleep usually by reading them stories. So I believe it's just something that stays with us. Everybody likes to gossip. Everybody loves a story. It just depends on what kind of stories you like. But I mean, movies tell stories. Movies are stories in visual format. Some people are better learners at reading. Some people are visual learners. That's something you learn about people. Some people learn more quickly if it's a visual lesson that they're learning. A movie takes a story and adapts it and puts it in visual form that we can see. And so for this segment, I'll be doing these segments each week that I release Thursday Roundup, and just so that me and you together can learn a little bit about storytelling and the movie making process. Like I said, this is Armchair Fandom, so I'll be learning as we go along. And this may be a basic lesson this week, but we got to start from scratch and catch everybody up and learn as we go. So the first thing I want to talk about this week and then expand on in the future episodes are the elements of a story. The main elements of a story is 1, the setting, 2, the character, 3, the plot, 4, the conflict, 5, the theme, 6, the point of view, 7, the tone, and 8, the style. And as we go through this article, we'll explain to you what these 8 things are. But these are the basic elements of a story that you learn about in basically elementary school. A lot of us may forget, but these are the basic elements. The setting is where and when the story is set. This article says setting represents both the physical location, but also the time, past, present, or future, and the social and cultural conditions in which the characters exist. Number 2, the character is a person or animal or really anything personified. There can be one main character or many, and often there are secondary characters, but not always. Number 3, the plot consists of the events that happen in the story. In a plot, you typically find an introduction, rising action, a climax, the falling action, and a resolution. And it says the plot is often represented as an arc. It says to learn about plot in detail, read the article. What is a plot? We may go into that in the future. Number 4, the conflict. Every story must have a conflict, a challenge or problem around which the plot is based. Without conflict, the story will have no purpose or trajectory. I'm not 100% sure I agree with the fact that there must be conflict. I think you can just tell a story with no conflict. I mean, I don't see how that's necessary. But number 5 is the theme, the idea, belief, moral lesson, or insight. It's the central argument that the author is trying to make to the reader to understand, and the theme is the why of the story. And then it says here, in high school you start learning the advanced elements of a story, talking about point of view, tone, style, and we may go into that next time. So the 5 basic elements of a story would be the setting, the character, the plot, the conflict, and the theme. And I believe if you look for these elements in movies, when you're watching movies, you'll enjoy the movies better. If you try to understand what the setting is, which is usually not hard to find, analyze the characters, think about the plot, identify the conflict, and try to figure out the theme or what the author or the movie maker is trying to get across to you. But anyways, this channel is designed just to try to help you enjoy movies more. And if you love movies but don't have time to put a lot of time into your love for movies, this channel is designed to try to encourage you to take more time to enjoy what you love. This is Armchair Fandom. You don't have to be an expert to enjoy movies. If you only get to watch one movie a month, I'm hoping that I can help you enjoy that one movie a little more than you normally would. And if you like this video, I please ask you to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button on this video, leave a comment in the comment section below, and share this video with people that you know. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and have a great weekend. Thank you.